Alright, so in this next video, we're now into the S2 sheet. And we kind of got to figure out what's going to fit. Because here I've got the framing for the roof sitting here. It's the exact same image as this one sitting down here. And to make it look that clean and pretty, all I really need to do is reshape this viewport. So you just click on it and I can stretch it out. And then bring it in. So I'm looking at the dimensions that are down below, down here, making sure I don't cover those up because then they'll disappear. And then I've got the title. I want that to stay. So when I bring this up, get it close. And then I can bring this down some. And then I can bring this over some. And I've got a framing plan. So I could leave this on this framing, or this is on the foundation details. I don't think it's what I want, but we'll find out. So I'm not going to throw it away. So I'm going to move it out of the drawing for right now. But what we need is a foundation plan. And I don't even know if I have one drawn. So I'm going to open, and we're going to check Bell's drawings. I need to back up one to be in Bell's CDs. And I have a framing plan. I got a GSN and a framing plan. So I do not have I don't have a foundation plan yet. So there's a couple ways to do that. And the simplest way is to take the template and start from there. So I'm going to go into blocks evolving. I'm going to back up one so I can see my templates evolving. And then I'm going to open up a 23 template. And before I do anything, because this is the template we always use to start with, you need to do a save as. And let's save it. We got our sheets going on. And since we're doing a save as, we need to give it a name that's going to make sense for where we're at. We're doing foundation, which will be S2. Oh, sorry. Windows popping up on the other screen. I'm like, where is it? 2.0 dash, and then it's foundation plan. I can keep those names down there short, and you'll get used to my abbreviations, but I could spell it out, but it's just FDN, PLN. So for foundation plan, and I'm going to call this deets for details. And so then we want to tell it where. We're going to set it in Bell CDs. And boom, we have our new sheet. So this is just a blank sheet, and there's nothing in it. So these are layers, like those clear sheets of paper I was telling you about. So all the A's are for architecture. B's are for boundary or area, to calculate areas. C's are for civil, so anything to do with civil engineering, site plans, that kind of thing. D is drawing. That's a little more complex, but it's basically elevations and sections is the main thing. E, obviously electrical. G is general. This is stuff for you only. Places where you don't put notes to yourself, but they won't ever print. L is landscape. M is mechanical. N is notes. And there's all kinds of there's sections of notes. So we have architectural notes. We've got as-built for doing measures on existing buildings. Then architectural notes. Then civil engineering notes. Then the general notes, which gets used in a variety of ways, and then structural engineering notes, the STRU notes. Then there's plumbing. So plumbing section, then a structural section for the actual drawing of structural elements, which we're going to use in this foundation plan. Then we have the title block, the T's. Then we have XREFs, and that's the external references. And so we need to put ourselves onto an XREF. And I've been renaming this, and I need to rename it in the template because I'm renaming it every time. So this is the LL, which is lower level, basement level, lower level, upper level. I'm changing this to ML. It still stays in alphabetical order, so I have basement level, main level, upper level. Oops, I just switched to upper level. Didn't mean to do that. So I'll come back down, switch to lower level. If I wanted to, I can come over and fix it now. I should fix it in the template. That's what I should do. And so here, I'll just come in here, and I'll change that. Since I'm working in AutoCAD, I'm going to put my caps lock on because everything is Then I have a layer list over here, XREFs, and here is just a description, but it's on the correct layer, and so this should be ML. Once I get that corrected on the template, you'll never have to do this again. But that's the way that layers are for now. So now we're on this main level to bring in the floor plan so we can use it to create the foundation plan. So I'm going to type XREF, and that'll take me onto the XREF, and you can see this is the drawing we're in, and notice there's no XREFs yet. So we're going to attach one. Bring this over here. And then I'm going to go to Bell CDs, and I'm going to attach the floor plan. Open. And I want to do it as an overlay, not an attachment. I want it to be relative path, not a full path or no path, but a relative path. That means when I send you like that whole folder of stuff that I sent you, then it still works because it's relative. As long as you keep those in order with each other, then they're relative. The scale will be 1:1, so I'm not going to specify it on screen. It's all set up for 1:1. Insertion point, I will specify that, or I can set it to 0, 0. So if I turn that off, I'll see if it lands right. And then rotation is 0, units are fine, and I hit OK. Boom, there it is, and look, it hit right on it. These lines here are to show me what I call the baseline. We'll explain that as time goes on. But that's the baseline there. And so this is not a set of lines, it's just a reference to the other drawing that's done elsewhere. But now we can trace over it, we can do anything we want with it. I don't need these now that I know it landed in the right spot. I can't erase this because it's part of this drawing. But what I can do is what's called an X-clip to make it so I don't see this extraneous junk I don't want to see. And you just kind of hit the space bar to get through those functions because I want a standard rectangular X-clip. I don't need the roof. That's what this is because I'm doing the foundation plan. So I'm just going to click here. I'm going to come down to this corner, zoom in so I don't snap to something, and we'll talk about snaps. And then I'll click here, and you'll see everything outside of that rectangle I just drew disappeared. Now I can go to my Home tab. I can hit Freeze, and I can start clearing layers that are in another drawing, actually, which is a really cool aspect. Didn't used to be able to do this. So I can clear out those, I can clear out this, I don't need to see the mechanical thing in the plumbing, I don't need center lines in my plumbing, I don't need doors in my plumbing, foundation plan, and there's dimensions. That's what these little green things, but I cut them off so you can't really see them. I don't need those dimensions. I'm doing a foundation. I don't need the veneer, I don't need the insulation, and I don't really like this poche is what this is called. Now this is hard to grab because it's solid. Just going to find the right spot. Ooh, I don't need drywall. And I don't need windows. And I don't need the glazing, which is just a second line for window. And we don't need a roof. So now I'm right down to basics here. And you'll see there's two types of lines to create an outer wall, and there's a reason for that. And then we have these, which are the slab that's outside here. We just cut off part of it. If I wanted to see that again, I can click on this, and I can stretch this down so I can see my little patio, because that will be part of the foundation. So there's that set up. And now you have to know the foundation sizes and what we're going to do. And so what I'll do is I'll take a line. I wanted this foundation centered in this case. And then I'm going to do what's called an X-line, which is an infinite length line. So XL, space, and I want it to be horizontal. And I'm going to drop it right here on the middle of that. And that's a snap that you saw. And those are set up down in here, what things you want it to snap to are set up right here. So I'm snapping at endpoints, midpoints, centers. And they give you different symbols when they hit it. So, and then on nodes, quadrants, intersections, and extension, which is to pull out something. So that's a little more difficult one. Here I'm still in this XREF layer. Shouldn't be. not to draw on. So I'm going to go to my G junk, which is my layer just for me. I can actually take this line I accidentally drew on that and switch it by hitting the letter G up to G junk, and now it's also on that layer. Now I'm going to do a mirror at 45 degrees. Mirror this about this. Oop, undo. I don't want it to do that yet. So this is going to be a 16-inch wide footing, so I'm going to offset it, O. I'm going to offset it by 8 inches. Inches is default in AutoCAD, so you don't have to hit inches. And then click down and one up. And now these need to be on the, oops, I grabbed the extra. See that line there? If I hold the shift button, I can deselect that. This is called crossing. I'm selecting by going from right to left. Anything I touch will be erased. If I wanted just this line, I can cross, but I gotta be real careful not to hit anything else. Okay? But I can deselect it by windowing it, and I can hit all kinds of stuff. And look, it didn't do those because I went from right to left, so it has to be within the box entirely, or it's not selected. That was holding the shift to deselect it in that case. Now that I have these two selected, I'm going to change them to an S layer, which is the footing. So I'm going to go down to F, or S, Foundations, and the footing. Now it's a solid line, but it's not really a solid line. If you look up here, by layer shows this symbol. The reason that it's showing as solid is because you need to change this scale factor to 24. They'll almost always be 24. And now you have those. Now this line and stuff will give me a great place to mirror this. So I'm going to mirror that and that. Oops, I grabbed that again. So I'm holding shift, crossing, and I'm getting rid of the, or I would copy the extra. And I'm going to mirror it about 45 degrees. And at 45 degrees, and the reason it's snapping, to see how it snaps to 45, is because I have this set down here. I'm sorry, this one here. And you have different angle things that you can set it to. This is set to 15s, 30s, 45, and 60s. Use the most common for what I'm doing. Every once in a while I got to set it to 22.5, but it usually has to do with rust. So I'm going to click there. And do I want to erase the source? No, I don't want to. It's there, so you just hit the space bar because that was the default. Now I can get rid of this line here. Don't need it. And I can mirror this about the middle of the garage because I know that hits the same spot. I can mirror this about the middle of the baseline. I could do the inner line, but that's just because I know that these doors are exactly equal parts. And then I'm going to fill it with a radius of 0 or chamfer with a radius of 0. Fill it I switch a lot, so I use chamfer when I want to close something because I hardly use chamfer. I'll explain the difference of those later time. So C, and then choose each line. Now it's going to, every time I hit space, it repeats the last command, which is chamfer. And so I'm just going to do that all the way around. Click, click, repeat. Oops, I accidentally hit my phone. Repeat, click, click, go to another spot. Click, click, repeat. Click, click, repeat. Click, click, repeat. Click, click. All right, there's quite a bit to do in this particular thing, creating a foundation plan. So we'll see how well this does at keeping track of my recording and how much time I'm limited to on YouTube. I don't see any sort of counter on this recording thing to tell me where I'm at in space and time here. It'd be kind of nice to know. But I don't know. So, yeah, look at the clock next time. Oh, my plot job. We did that one plot a long time ago. If you want that cleared, restrict the X. Okay, so those are set up. I probably don't need this anymore, but in case I want it to reflect about at some other point, I'll just put it on the junk layer. It won't print. It won't get in our way. If I forget it's there, it doesn't matter because it's never going to show up. Okay, in foundations, we can't see windows. Don't need those windows. Oh, they're not really there. See, like that. So this is, remember, this is the XREF. So I can't erase anything on there. I can erase the whole thing, but I can't erase pieces of it. So I need to trace it out. And one thing you can do with XREFs is you can go and see how this is set to 67% if it's locked to fade it. And now I can tell my XREF apart. So if I go into my layer properties, I've got unreconciled layers. You'll see this quite a bit. We'll go into that later. Just click on one, and then Control A to select all, then right click and reconcile layers. It'll clear that, but it'll leave you in all. You don't want to be in all. You want to be in all non-XREF. All is such a huge lift. It's ridiculous. But if I wanted to just work with XREF, so I can click on that. I've set up all these. This is all customized. So this is all the drawing layers, including, there's sometimes some extra stuff because they're used common with it. Hatch. This is all the hatch layers. And hatch we'll get into, basically laying out patterns. So a lot of different things you can get through structural layers. Framing, structural for foundation, on and on. Right now, I want to go to my XREF layer for that main level, and we're going to lock it and watch the fade. Click. See how it faded? So now I can tell what I haven't drawn. Since this is almost a complete rectangle for the foundation, it actually will be because we do what's called a turn down here at the edge. This is just some sort of popped out thing from actually one of the issues of Chief, but we're going to switch our layer to S. Oops, my layer set is diminished because I left it that way. Oops, sorry, wrong thing. Over here, I left it in XREFs only. So my layer set, my drop down, is XREFs only. Come over here. Go back to all non-XREF layers so I get the full set again. Or, since I'm working on foundation, I could go here too. Makes my layer set shorter to be in this set than it does this set. So this is the whole set here. If I go to all non-XREF, then this is my whole set of stuff I got to look through every time. So there's lots of things. We need to create one of these that doesn't have all these areas in it, but that's down the road. Got to keep working first. So we're going to go for foundation. I'm going to change my current layer to be a foundation layer. We have the footing in, but we need a stem wall. So this is stem. So if I double click on it, puts a green check mark there, tells me that's the current layer. I can make this really quick by typing REC for rectangle. So that was REC space. It's thinking for some reason. There we go. And then I'm going to click here. I'm going to come up here. Click again. And that should be perfectly fine. So this is our baseline. This is the outside of the framing and the outside of the foundation. Ooh, we're going to have to make a change here. I'll show you how to do that too. I made an error. I put this line in here too early. We are going to need it. So the stem wall is 8 inches wide. So offset 8, where that framing layer is only 5.5. So now my foundation is not centered anymore. That sucks. But I can erase this, and I can cross to get just those two pieces there. I can cross those two. And let's say I just want this one. I can grab it. By windowing it, see I had to go all the way down, but not grab everything. I don't want to grab too much. I wanted to keep my little red deal. Okay? Although I probably won't need it. I'm keeping this one for the simple purpose of I'm going to do a properties match. And I'll show you what that means. So I'm just going to move it. It's in the wrong place. It's just there for properties. So now, if this is 8 inches and the whole thing's 16, that means I need 4 inches of footing each side. So if I offset this by 4, boom, boom, now I can do my match properties, which is MA space pick a line that I want to match properties with. I pick this, and then I pick this, and it matched it. Took it to the right layer. You change the 24 in here for the line type. Oh, I don't have it selected. It changed the 24 in here for the line type, all that. And now I don't need this. So foundation starting. Okay, these are big doors, and these are little doors. On all those locations, we do need to cut through the stem. Or do we? This one is, there is no... There is no... The slab's getting poured over this, in this case, because it's just a garage. So here, I am going to do I'm going to save in some concrete, but on those little doors, we don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to draw a line across this door, and if I hold it straight, see how it does that snap to angle, and it's holding it straight, then I click on that and let go. There's lots of ways to redo that line. I can copy it from here to here. Because I know these doors are centered, I can mirror. I can mirror that around this. And as you note, see it landed right on them. Now, I'm going to undo, which is U space, and get rid of those two. Because we're going to draw this whole side out, and then we're going to mirror it. So, here, I'm going to offset 8 inches. And this is all stuff that just go through time. Then I'm going to extend it, EX. I'm going to cross this whole thing. Oop, didn't really need that one, but I will want these. So then I'm going to extend by hitting enter, and then end that by picking. After I've hit enter, I can extend to both those. And then done, okay? So now that line can be mirrored about the middle of this door. Well, that's not easily selected. So I kind of like to be on my G-Junk for doing these sort of weird lines, because then I don't have to worry if I forget to erase it. Now I can mirror that line. Oh, this is a window select. So I can pick it. Sorry, just pick it, since there's only one line. I can also select it by going across it. I'm not in any command. I'm just selecting it. Because you can put the command in after or before you select your items. So then I'm going to mirror it. MI, mirror. It'll give you all sorts of stuff when you start to type. So it helps you remember. So mirror, then I'm going to hit the space bar for enter. And I want to mirror it about the middle of this. See how it turns to a triangle? It'll tell you midpoint. But in case you're quicker, then you don't want to wait for the midpoint to show up. You just recognize that, hey, you'll get used to these shapes. And that's a midpoint shape. Then I come straight out. Because if I'm off at an angle, see what it does? I want straight out. And then I do not want it to erase the original. So no. And there I have it. Now what this is this is a turn down footing, and we'll get into that sort of stuff later. But I need to trim back to these two lines. Oops, not that one. I'm holding the shift, I'm clicking that to deselect it, and I got to trim out this inner piece. So I hit enter, and now I'm ready to trim, and then enter to get out of the command. Let's hit save. Save is a big thing in AutoCAD. Save often. You hear lots of guys tell you that all the time. Now we're going to match properties, because this is part of the footing, not the stem wall, those two lines. And then we can trim between here and here, this. Because this is just an 8-inch turn down. And there's no stem through any of this. I should have just gotten rid of all that right at once. So I'm going to go to there and there again, hit enter, and then select this, hit enter to be out of the command. Now I've got things sort of working here. So all I want is a turn down that you really can't see. That's why it's a hidden line. It's below the dirt. And the turn down's only 8 inches wide at these doors. And this saves concrete. You don't have to dig as deep. There's all sorts of reasons for it. And all we do here is just trim back to there. Notice I have this picked so it didn't do it all in one step. There's that. Oh, undo. I did it the wrong way. So this time I won't accidentally select that line, but I should have trimmed out the outside of it. So there we go. Now I'm set, and I've got this whole thing drawn. I'll mirror it. I have to do a little trimming over here, but I'll mirror it and have all those items over here. So mirror, and I'll select all that stuff that I want. Notice it doesn't select this because this is one big line, and I didn't window select. It wasn't in the window. If I'd have gone this direction, it would have grabbed that too, because that would have been a crossing select. So if it touched it, it would have grabbed it. Then I'm going to go here. Oh, I don't have a midpoint. Oh, there is a midpoint. Because this is still one continuous object, I got a midpoint. Bring it about, and then zoom in. And let's just check and make sure that everything looks good. And it does. Now it's just a matter of doing a little trimming. Got to trim to that. Got to trim to that. Let's get rid of that. I don't need the red line on both. And then we can trim back to here and there. Notice that I almost went over that, but I stopped before I got to this side. I'll show you that again. So trim, TR, that all the way across. Here I started and I was like, oh, I want to get the green line. But if I stop short of it, I'm only going to get the white one. Keep going, I get the green too. Short, don't. There, and then click, click, and that is the foundation plan, almost finished without notes. There's the drafting of. I'm going to stop at that point. Oh, let's put in some hatch. Let's put in some hatch. Why not? So this red line, I don't need it anymore. That one's not going to hurt me. For hatch, I need to get rid of stuff that's going to get in my way. So remember I talked about that in the other video. This load-unload feature. So if I just unload it and don't detach it, if I just unload it, I can just reload it and it'll show up right where it was. So now that's turned off and all those lines are gone, which makes it easy for me to hatch. So I'm going to go to my dehatch layer, which I don't see. Oh, and structural layers. My set is set to structural. I usually work here because I know how to get around so fast in it, but because you can hit those prefix numbers. So if I know what my prefix is, then I can just hit the D, and I'm up to D. So there's dehatch, and I can click on dehatch, and then I can say H for hatch, and see how it's picking areas. Boom, boom, boom. So I want this one, and I want this one, because the stem wall has a certain type of hatch called ANSI 131, but it's way off in scale. So this needs to be like 48, I believe. Yep, 48. And then close. So now it has a nice hatched pattern to show that that's the stem wall. Prints really nice this way. So I do some dimensioning. I'll put some notes on, tell how wide the footing is with depths and all that kind of stuff. We'll put some detailed cuts through here, which are cut bubbles and all that sort of stuff in the next exercise. So anyway, that's drawing of it. There's drafting 101. The first drafting we've done so far. Signing off. If I can find the stop record button.